One's on here. BG, I know is going to be late potentially. He might not make it, but might come in. And then we're gonna say something all the teachers. The school presentation. Oh, we're pretending. None of us are real. We are really not here. Right? And we're done.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Are they moving?
Right? Wave at the camera. There we go. Okay. Okay, well, it is 6:30 and we will call this meeting to order. I will start by taking roll from my right, please.
Katie Benjamin.
Sam Rosling. Ron Goodman.
Ashley Cockerham.
Elida Snow.
Rob Delmas.
Helen Johnston.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we would like to do our student recognition. Let's start with Miss Joy Mercer, presented by Miss Farmer.
Thank you.
It would be a good spot to stay.
Right here. Yeah.
All right, so this is Miss Joy, and she is in first grade this year. And I kind of talked to Joy, interviewed her today about her favorite things and to learn more about her. She has a sister named Conley and a mom and dad named George and Molly. Her favorite color is gold. Her favorite class is reading, and she is in ballet, and she loves to draw and dance. And she said that the things she likes to do on the weekends are to play games with her sister. And her future occupation is a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, when they asked us to pick a student, Joy came to mind right away, who really exemplifies what ROAR stands for at our school. And I wrote a little thing up here about Joy. I said, you know, she demonstrates respect, kindness, and inclusivity towards everyone around her. She's considerate of others, offering help and support whenever is needed, especially when I don't ask. She'll just see who needs help, and she kind of quietly goes over there and assists. And her organizational skills are impressive. She's often first to complete tasks, always exceeding expectations. She has a great attitude. She has a great sense of humor, like a really quiet wit about her, and she always brings a positive atmosphere to the classroom. She collaborates effectively, and she can always be counted on to do the right thing, even when I'm not in the room. She is a leader, and she's a joy to have in class. And if she does become a teacher, I have no doubt that we'll be in good hands. So I'm so proud to nominate Miss Joy Mercer. Yeah, Joy.
Okay, next we have Shay Hutchings, the sixth grader, I assume presented by all three of you?
I didn't know.
That's okay. I saw all three of them sitting there.
We're a package student.
I love it.
Well, hello everyone. Mr. Britton, Language Arts and Reading for sixth grade, and we are excited for the opportunity to share with you the wonderful human being and excellent student that is Shay Hutchings. A student whose dedication to her academics really shines through all of her work, whether it be an essay or a novel study. You can really see that she dedicates herself and everything that she is to her work. It's very impressive.
Mrs. Wenzel, I do science and social studies. I also want to touch on the idea of academics and extracurricular activities. Shay was involved with volleyball in the fall, and she enjoyed that. She's a very good player, and hopefully she continues. But also academically, she had, for example, in my social studies class, she did a timeline that I actually asked her if I could keep for future years because her artistic ability and her dedication were amazing. She also was very well, collaborating with her peers, but always had a good attitude and respectful to everybody.
I'm Mrs. Starkle. I teach math. So to touch on both Mr. Britton and Mrs. Winslow, Shay is just a fabulous student inside and out. She is one of our lead students, and you can tell, whether it's working with people in class, asking for questions when she does have a question, she's not afraid to do so, and she's also not afraid to include anyone who needs a friend at the time. So we are very proud to have Shay in 6th grade with us and then part of our community.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Mrs. Benner presenting Gage Cockerham. I'm gonna give you both of them.
Okay. You're gonna do two things tonight. Let's do it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Benner, and I have the privilege of presenting Gage Cochrane for Student of the Month. Gage is one of the most diligent students that I have this year. He is very responsible. He works hard on all of his assignments. He does his work with care. He always checks to make sure when he's finished. Mrs. Benner, is there anything else I need to do? Did I forget anything on this? He's very concerned making sure that he has his work in and completed. And then in addition, he offers to assist other students when he sees that they're struggling or they might need a little bit of help. Hey, can I go over and help this student? Or, usually if he asks to do that, there's somebody that does. He goes over there and he does a fabulous job. He doesn't just do the work for them. He helps them and assists them in showing them how they need to do it and what they're missing. He's kind and considerate to the other students in the classroom as well as the adults in the classroom. He comes to class every day prepared and ready to learn. His attitude and his perseverance are going to take him far. I'm kind of excited to see where you're going to go, what you're going to do with that, because I think your positive attitude and your just willingness to sit down and get done what needs to be done is really going to take you places if you keep that up. I'm very proud of the way he handles himself inside and outside of the classroom, and it's truly a pleasure to have you in my room. Thank you so much.
Okay, and last but not least, we have Cody Watson, presented by Mr. Germany.
Best thing about it is I don't even know Cody. That tells how good of a kid he is. Because when he comes down, all I know is he can run like a gazelle. It's enjoyed watching him cross country and track. Mr. Marshall nominated him this year or this month, and he does send his apologies. His daughter has something going on in Troy tonight. So he wrote this up for him. He said, Cody Watson personifies loggers go first. The motto to me. He leads by example. He comes to class prepared and ready to learn on a daily basis. When faced with something he doesn't understand, he takes it upon himself to ask questions and figure out the answers. Prior to Thanksgiving, here's an example. Cody fell ill and missed an entire week of school. During this time, he reached out through email to make sure he wouldn't fall behind his classmates, and he was being proactive, going first. He routinely shows what kind of tenacity it takes to be a successful student in his studies. On a personal side, Cody's always ready with an easy laugh and smile that certainly brightens my classroom. He's been a pleasure to teach, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. So I sent out a message to his teachers, and most of them said the same things. Mr. Winslow said, Cody is a pleasure to have in class. He's always good to his classmates, respectful to everyone in class. And most importantly, he's always concerned about just doing well. He takes his schoolwork seriously and puts his best foot forward. So it's our privilege to say thank you and congratulate you on being the Student of the Month.
Okay, at this time, I would ask all the students go out in the hall. We would love to get some pictures.
Check. Intermission. Be a shootout, I think. Be a shootout, I think.
Already?
7-7 already.
Since
Cincy will lead in.
200 points from
I got CD, which helps.
Who do you have?
CD playing, and he scored. And then Joe Burrow and Chase.
So I get to see Brown. Runs to the first.
Yeah.
You guys make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Fourth?
Third. We're high. We're high for our points. We had a good record versus, I think we're like fifth in points or sixth in points. And
I'm just shooting.
I've been kind of on Woody, him and Joe Macker at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
No.
Robin.
I was gonna let you. I thought that's what you said, and I was like, What fun is that?
Which numbers those?
I gotta take out my shoes if I gotta do it.
Oh, you did? Okay. At this time, I invite any member of the audience to briefly address the board on any non-agenda item. Okay, we are going to move on to our setting of our January meetings. So we look to set them for Monday, January 6th at 4:30 for the special board agenda meeting, and Monday, January 13th at 6:30 for the regular board meeting.
I move that we set the January meetings as outlined in the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Ellen and a second by Sam to approve the January meetings as listed. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, we have the minutes from November. Did everybody get a chance to? Any corrections?
Yeah, we got it. I make a motion we approve the minutes from November 4th, 7th, 11th, and 15th as noted.
Second.
I have a motion by Sam and a second by Rob to approve the November minutes as listed. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, moving on to budget and finance.
Trustees' financial report for November 2024, we have a total of $1,477,069.43. Approved warrants 17055 through 17165, and no voided warrants.
Second.
I have a motion by Rob and a second by Sam to approve the trustees' financial report as read. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, we will start with our leadership team reports. Go ahead and start us off tonight.
Okay. So I'm going to be mainly speaking about what we're going to be doing next week for our community service day projects. So we're going to be making blankets for the women's shelter, 25, hopefully one of those like tie blankets. And then we're going to hopefully be making 86 socks for the care center, goodie bags with like bookmarks, candy cans, and possibly ornaments for the elementary school. We're making toys, like the wooden toys the woodshop makes, 115, 55 batches of cookies with thank you cards for the sponsors. And hopefully we'll be doing Read with a Logger, open for everyone, not just athletes. We will have a cocoa bar, a popcorn, and a movie for everyone who's there working. We will have our gratitude lesson in the morning. The basketball game will be in the afternoon, and there'll be free entry for helpers. The band and choir will be going to ACE, the hospital, and the care center. There will be Christmas tree decorating for the student council in the lobby. And we have our dress up days. Monday will be Cozy Day, Tuesday will be Blue and Gold, Wednesday will be your favorite holiday movie character, Thursday will be Candy Cane Day, and Friday will be Ugly Sweater. Any questions? Ask me, Wendy Foss.
That's an ugly sweater you could borrow.
I just want to say it was nice to see the high school students at the care center decorating their Christmas tree.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was really
Very
cool.
nice.
I love how you guys get involved.
It's cool.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for her? Okay. Are you going to get out here tonight? Okay, go ahead. She's like, and I'm out. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Let's start with Miss Kidwell tonight.
So attendance. Attendance is slightly down. Of course, we have the winter flu and cold season coming. Sixth grade was at 86% for this month. A little bit down, quite a bit down from last month. So hopefully that passes fairly soon and we can get back to a healthier student body. We did have 9 new students this month and 4 PBIS is working on reading across the grade levels again. It was a big hit last January we started it, or last February we started it. We're going to start it in January this year. 2 classes will be paired together from upper and lower elementary. Students will read with their partner at least 2 times a month, and that will go on through the end of the year. It was a big hit last year. Teachers asked for it to come back. PBIS, so there's our November winners. We're putting 2 positive office referrals in every teacher's mailbox at the beginning of the week, and we've gotten quite a few in for this month, and we'll actually have it next Wednesday will be our luncheon because of Christmas programs. So our attendance, comparing November and December with our moderate behaviors, 86 in November, 60 so far going into where we're at. So from middle of October through the middle of November to the board meeting, same thing, 86 to 60. We also were minus a week, so with the Thanksgiving break. Finance, disrespect were the heavy hitter with moderate behaviors again. Down a few. In the classroom was down quite a bit, the classroom behaviors, and part of it is the number of referrals, but it's down a little bit compared to last month. 26 moderate behaviors in 6th grade last month. The largest one this time was 7 with kindergarten. Wednesday to Friday. So it was Wednesday last month. Busy day of the week this month is Friday. And then from after 1 o'clock, change that up a little bit. I think it had a 2 o'clock was the heavy one before. From 1 o'clock till the end of the day, 39 of the events took place, and 32 of them this month. And then males, 60 and 44 for this month. The major events, even down quite a bit as well, 47 to 28. Number of students not decreased, but one event there were 9 students involved in one event this month. So that makes a big difference on the number of students. Abuse of inappropriate language was 8 last month. This month it was down to 2. Physical aggression from 16 to 3. Overt defiance went up, and then chronic moderate behaviors was slightly down. I had one event that took place right before Thanksgiving, or before that Friday before Thanksgiving, and it took all last week investigating it to get to the conclusion of it. So that's one of those big ones.
So then connected to PBIS, but also part of our MTSS, we're talking about universal skills and strategies. So PBIS did update the LES playground expectations, and they rolled out in last week's newsletter. Also, we did recently receive a LORE grant that will be used to purchase items needed for a regulation station in every classroom. And so you see the example of the poster that will be posted near the area of the regulation station. So we're going to purchase a little bungee chair for each classroom so that it's easy to clean. It's round and it looks cool. And then we're going to purchase the same container that holds the same sensory fidget items, the same timers, and then come up with a teach-to to teach students how to use it. We've piloted it in a couple of classrooms, and the kids are doing a really good job overall.
Cool.
So I'm excited to see that universal tool in each classroom. So thanks, Laura Brent. We continue to focus on instruction, the work of our SLT team in November. One of the quotes that we read a couple of times is right there. For writing and comprehension, evidence suggests that when reading instruction fails to capitalize on writing instruction, and when writing instruction fails to capitalize on reading instruction, students are being deprived of valuable learning opportunities. So we talked a lot about the recursive nature of reading and writing. You can't have one without the other, no matter what discipline you're talking about. It's not just relegated to the reading block per se. So we talked about the continued implementation of workstations or small group instruction. I'm seeing the majority of classes. I was in 4th grade classrooms today in 3 different classrooms. All were doing workstations effectively. I think the small group teacher table or area is really beneficial for differentiating the instruction. The masked data and exact path data continues to illuminate the path needed for student support. We continue to work on teams, and they're planning, and they've really done a really good job of using those state standards to drive the instructional preparation. And then the focus is on authentic and meaningful learning. Talking about, is the writing component embedded in a meaningful way that help kids start to wrap their minds around what I do as a reader, what I do as a writer. So the conversation was rich. And like I said, we really continue in our collaborative sessions to focus on what it looks and sounds like in a classroom to ensure that children continue to grow with literacy. And then this week, we're taking a deeper dive into our masked data. The window closed at the end of November. And so all of the data is in, and we've used masked reports as well as Doreen's report that took the literacy data, whether it be instructional or literary, and really pulled it across the standards so we are able to see collectively from each grade level where are areas of strength and where are areas of need. And what's great about that is they are standards driven, which aligns to the planning and preparation of instruction in the classroom. Winter benchmark is coming soon, so I'm curious to see the level of growth from our students, especially since Exact Path was new in the fall. I think that kids are becoming much more accustomed to that platform, and so it won't be novel anymore. And so I'm hopeful that the data will show growth. And then parent-teacher conferences were well attended and were very meaningful for families. Some of the feedback from teachers, I sent a survey out just to see their thoughts on how it went, anything that they thought went well or anything that they suggested for change. Some of the feedback was that they feel having parent-teacher conferences earlier in the school year would be beneficial, that November is a bit late. They did appreciate not having to teach all day and have conferences in the evening, and the majority would prefer to continue on a path as the past 2 years has been. They appreciated the amount of time allotted for the conference days, and a lot felt that the exact path data was very meaningful for parents. And then SLANT is a district initiative, and we rolled it out in last week's newsletter. Some common visuals were created, as you can see down on the right. So those are being printed and laminated and will be in all classrooms, just for consistency across the campus with that strategy. And then this was an example. Our kindergarten team has created in a classroom in the Brown Pod a common use area where they are able to set up different stations or different like sets, so to speak, like it aligns to their curriculum. So this one was called the Pie Place. So students were able to learn through action and play different things that they had learned in a classroom setting. So it's a really positive addition for our kindergarten kids. And there's lots of room in there for them to move. And with Edmentum, we continue to roll out. ExactPath is going strong. Fidelity to that intervention, I think, is going well across the campus. We had several teachers inquiring about the Study Island component of Edmentum, so we are going to do a virtual PD tomorrow Wednesday afternoon with Edmentum Company. The lady that trains us is very easy to understand and does a really good job of helping our teachers make sense of ExactPath and then now for Study Island. So I know our teachers are excited for that addition. For those of them that are ready to delve in, Study Island is standards driven and it's grade level, whereas the ExactPath is more of a remediation or an intervention for kids.
Yes, the Lager Card fundraiser is underway. That is the cover of it on one side and what they are selling on the other. It's $10 a card. Some very good cabinet view is on there again. That's one right there is worth $30 to the buyer. But we have 16 items on the list this year for our Lager cards, which is up from last year 10. So that's a vast improvement. There's some nice things on it. Hopefully some of the kids will come by to see you.
And just a reminder, we have student talent that will be showcased starting next week. So if you are able to attend any of those events, we would love to have you.
Okay, is that all? Okay, sorry. All right, Mr. Germany.
It was a short 3 weeks from the last board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went in, I'm like, wow, there's not a whole lot changing in this. This should be kind of short and sweet for you. As we get going with it, I didn't give you a good count last time. I think it's interesting in the last basically 30 days, we have 5 new students and we lost 5 students. So it's a push on just the coming and goings. It is, I do think I have my record. We had a kid for 2 days. And that was about as quick as we could do. But I will say, no, had her for 4 days, that she was definitely had already moved to tier 2 behavioral supports on her 3rd day. So sometimes those moving in and moving out isn't so bad. Sweet girl, though, that's one of those examples of just kind of the fluency or the fluid nature of kids enrolling and leaving. The ones on the left is homeschool. That's interesting for you guys to kind of know. They count, I think, 0.25 towards our A and B. But if you take a look at the number of kids, those are all pretty much kids that are involved in activities. We used to have a couple that would come and do band or choir, but I think those, I don't think we have any of those just this year. So that's the numbers of that. In the alt school, if you look at that, there's a little difference in that, those numbers. You'll notice that there's a smattering of some at each level. And that has a lot to do with our tiered systems. Some of the kids are having behavioral issues. Some of them are just not functioning, and definitely the high need in kids who are dealing with anxiety and things of that nature, not being able to be in a traditional setting. So that'll be conversations for you guys to think about as you go further with your charter schools conversation, those kind of numbers, you know. All right. We have 2 goals we're working on. We're still working on instructional planning through the FIT model. Probably sick of me saying that, but this is our culminating year. The big thing is that book study is really fallen into some good conversation for those of the teachers who are truly reading it. First chapter was all about understanding how to get students from short-term memory to long-term memory. Chapters 2 and 3 was definitely right up in our alley because we're working on our power standards. And I love that quote in there. What should students be taught versus what do you want them to be able to do? So there's a lot of talk about it, all of the curriculum you want to get through in the quarter or in the semester. But at the end of the semester, especially core areas, especially at the high school, what do you want them to be able to do at the end of this course? And that's what power standards are driving home. I like how they broke it down into teaching so much factual knowledge versus to give them the background, the shallow knowledge or the shallow learning that they need, and able to get to the deep learning and the critical thinking that we're ultimately trying to get to in deeper level thought. So that's our last 2 chapters, chapters 2 and 3 in that. Our tier 2, these numbers are kind of interesting, and I don't even know if I can give you an outlook of it. When we talk about all of our behavioral systems, we are moving into 2 big ones and trying to incorporate more of a moderate level approach to our minors and majors. That's changed some of our tracking systems so that we know when we get to the kids that we need some tier 2 supports. WIN stands for what I need now. It's a way to find out where the kids are at, where they have a voice and what they need to do to get better academically or behaviorally. But we had 18 kids go through a tier 2 support so far this year. Of those, there's 17 that have gone on to contracts or even check-in, check-outs. That's the system that we have in place in our behavior 2. The big one is that if this isn't working, what do we do? And we've got 6 kids right now in a tier 3, a formal behavioral plan. And that's, Mr. Goodman's been talking a lot to you guys about that. That has everything to do with some of our district level things we're talking about with behavior plans. So that's just some numbers that we have so far in the first few months of school. Cell phone update, total number, 74 students. The number has dropped off the last 2 weeks. But the key thing is the number of kids that get caught a second time and a third time. Those numbers drop drastically. So that tells you that the tier 1 approach to the cell phone issue is working. Like we've had 2 kids who have lost their privileges altogether because they just can't seem to follow it. And so those 2 kids are on a check-in, check-out phone privilege with me every day.
I don't think you have. So what does that mean as far as
They drop it off at me in the morning
instead of a locker
all day long, no lockers, and if they're caught with it, then there's further consequences with it. And they've been really good about it because they want it.
How hard has it been? Like
How
pushback?
hard?
Yeah.
For those 2, really good so far because they know that's their only way of getting that.
Just overall though, has it been?
Overall, I still think it's better. All the teachers say it's much better at the high school. Not having to fight in your locker or in your hand, because if it's even in their pocket, the kids are doing it. You still got your outliers. They're going to be there forever. But I think for the most part, our numbers have dropped drastically on just losing their phone privileges for the time. I can tell you that there's still going to the bathroom, checking their lockers, but I know they're in their lockers because as I'm walking down,
You hear it?
I hear them all the time. In fact, I had a teacher came out today, which I can't get it to turn off, and so I had to call the kid out of class to come.
Alarm goes off,
So that's, at the end of this time, I'm sure in January, you guys are gonna be looking at it. We're gonna recommend that you stay with the current one in the lockers for the high school. But I do think that for the middle school, especially after Mr. Roshin's week this last week, they're still messing around with it at lunchtime quite a bit. Had a couple of pretty major incidents that we need to probably move out of. So away for the day will probably be our recommendation to you, if you guys will consider that for the middle school for second semester. All right.
We would need to change our policy, correct, BG? We would need to change our policy, correct?
I'm trying to ignore that.
So the answer would be
Yes,
yes.
we would have
You'd have
to.
to separate the middle school and high school. Yeah. It'd be fine. It wouldn't be a major change though.
So what would as far as with the middle school, what was it you're gonna do different with that?
Currently, they can have it in the morning and lunchtime. So you change the policy that they can't have it at lunch.
Lunch or recess.
So it's like.
Lunch and recess, yeah.
Yeah, so they put it away.
Like when they get to school, they go to the locker, they put it away, it stays in there the whole day. They don't get it at lunch.
Except at lunch.
They don't get, middle school doesn't get it at lunch.
Okay.
High school does.
High school does.
Yeah.
And right now they are getting it at lunch and recess.
Right.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So that's the only change for the middle school.
I think that's a good recommendation.
Yeah, the first, I didn't change the one on the left, but we did get, go to the next one, actually. This was my last, from last time. We got all of our fall diagnostic. Here's the cool thing to think about with this. When we compare this, all those numbers are how we compare to the rest of the state, the kids that took that same test. So then if we're talking about the number of kids that are, first off, just notice how low the reds are. That's a huge, huge thing for our math especially, because we've been notoriously struggling with our test results. But what I like about this is that the teachers knew what was going to be on the test, got to choose when they're going to assess it, and that's what you should be doing with the state test, then compare us to the rest of the state. The tough part about this is when we do our winter benchmark, it's a whole new test. So we're not going to be able to say, well, here's how we did we grow? We're going to be relying on our diagnostic and that exact path for that. All right. Our conferences are a little different than the elementary. 7th grade, those are full slots. We can do 40 a day, 20 a day. So we had 2 days. 7th, 8th grade were packed to the hilt. And if you think about 106 7th graders, 40 families got in. So everybody loves the blocks with all the teachers together. Walk in, sit down, 20 minutes, you talk to all 6 teachers, and then you're out. So nobody wants to lose the format that we're using with teachers together. But the big problem is we're not getting enough kids. So you'll see at the bottom, we have a suggestion that we'd like to split that so that we can actually have our pop-ins. And even if we go to a half-day conference, you teach half the day and then you go into the evening from one day. If you don't do it 2 days in a row and then you have a full day the second day, in our world, it would work a lot better, especially at the high school, because all of those teachers, there's 14 teachers that can't sit together as a team because at the junior, senior level, it's not that clean. They can do it. And there's a need to be able to just pop in, talk to one teacher and get out. So we used to call it the gong show. If you guys ever remember it, everybody's in the gym. You had 8 to 10 minutes or 7 to 8 minutes, ring the bell and you can go to the next one. So we'd like to have a smattering of both. No matter if we're 2 full days or a day and a half, that's what we're going to look at doing next year for our level. You have a question?
Can they not just pop into classrooms?
High school they can, but they can't for the others. You got to schedule. Yeah, you can't 7 through 10.
Why is it bad to schedule? I guess.
No, they're all scheduled, but there's just not enough time. There's just not enough time in the day because they're.
So
20-minute blocks.
they're all
You guys
full.
20-minute blocks?
It depends if that's how the teacher says
Yeah.
it, yeah.
So if you think about elementary, so they've got two teachers for most part, maybe three like they saw today.
They all have one except for
One.
six has a teacher.
So they can get through their 25, 30 kids in those 2 days. In our world, they're teaching 106 kids. And they're
But
only,
how well attended is it? I mean,
our 7th and 8th was maxed out.
right.
If we went 3 days, we could probably have gone another 40.
So you're talking just doing that pop in and pop out with the 7th through 10th also?
Do pop in and pop out for 7, 12, all for 1 day. And then that'd be shorter times and then have the scheduled conferences. But we would be more diligent about who's coming into those. Because some teachers, I mean, some parents don't need to see all 6. They need to see their math teacher or whatever. And that's what it is. The other downfall with us this year is we shared high school, middle school so much that those
Teacher
teachers
teacher
were running
Wasn't
crazy.
there a problem though with the gong show? You know, I'm gonna refer to it as that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You know, because I remember some parents complaining, or it seems like we got the information, that they felt like it was not private enough when they wanted,
Exactly.
and that was, yeah.
So if we
That-
did both of them, those that don't need the private could go on
Could
the
go
long
to
show,
the-
and those that do want the private could
So
schedule
you
it.
would really set it up that
Yes,
you would tell the people you really,
Mhm.
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I mean, this was just, like she did her survey afterwards, I did the same thing, just going around talking to all the groups, and they would like us to consider that when it comes down to it.
So high school, that was not, I mean, if people weren't busy on that. is that-
No, but if you look at, that was the phone conferences. So everybody, since if you're a junior level teacher, not a lot of conferences, they would have a list of all the people that they were calling to make contact with. And some of them had extensive lists.
And those 40 in the 7th and 8th were going to be targeted the at-risk kids.
Who did.
Kids that were struggling, trying maybe personal call to their families.
And very few no-shows. That was really good. All right. Just other stuff coming up. Friday, Thursday and Friday of last week, we have a new grant. Ron can probably tell you more about the specifics of it through Flathead. And they brought a trainer over and we turned on our CNC machine for the first time. And they got so excited, they took kids out of classes and they just sat there and the guy made stuff with them on the metal one. We've been running the woodwork for a while. So Mr. Workman, that was a fun little experiment for him. Had some tech issues, but he came in, they brought over, I want to say, $2,500, $3,000 worth of equipment that's part of this grant. Trained them all up on it. The kids were just eating it up. I think Mr. Rayward was flying over his head and he was just like, oh my God, I got to get to work on this. And I loved it though, because you could see that everybody was excited.
Plugs in.
Yeah. Gosh, the teachers, are you kidding me? Yeah. But I think, here's what you got to think about. He's not going to have the expertise in it, but he's going to be a module or a little unit inside his class.
Yeah.
So that guy can come over and show up. Maybe he gets
Nick Rojon.
Nick Rojon to come in and teach the kids. But
We
they're
should have
up and
Cody
running
Reck
in the
of
summer.
stealing and bring him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to take us some time, but it was a fun 2 days just watching I had this one little middle schooler.
Oh, yeah.
That little gal, every
She
day.
did, but she came in today during one of my shop classes and played on the machine for the whole hour.
Yeah.
And she was reprogramming it. She was.
Who was doing this?
The little gal that was the student of the month last.
She's
Really?
at the shop
That's
class.
outstanding.
She came over and was playing with it during my shop class.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming for that.
Yeah, so that was a fun day. You already heard about our community service day coming up next. We started doing this a few years ago. It's a half day. Everybody understands what attendance is like in the high school. So we're doing a couple of things. First off, we're having a home event to try to draw this out and make sure all of the kids that are there are going to get in free. Try to drum up some excitement for activities. But we started off in the morning. Middle school has a little different view than the high school. last year we put it in the gym, and you should see 200 kids spread out making blankets and drawing, coloring, and making ornaments. Mr. Workman, last year, Mr. Luff started making little wood toys for the preschool, which went over like wonderful. Mr. Workman is expanding that this year, and the kids are really enjoying building those toys in the shops for these last few weeks. So that's going to be next, and it's with 2 days a year we do a community service. One in the spring, or excuse me, in the winter is this one, and then one in the spring is our trash pickup day. FAFSA night's tomorrow night. Glad to have Europe back in live and running with for us. We actually got our big speech drama meet here Saturday. If you guys, I don't know, Nick, if she's still doing okay on volunteers. We're looking for a few more still. Yeah, so it's nice because it's still one of the larger ones because we get some of the bigger schools coming over.
We got 7 schools coming this year.
Yeah.
What grade levels? All the way through?
High school.
Just high school, okay.
I think she's doing training Wednesday.
Yeah.
Training.
What time does it start, Nick?
8 a.m.
So in our advisory days, this is where we're doing our study island and our exact path. Exact path for our 7 through 10 grade kids, our diagnostic tests set the kids in a path. So they're spending 30 minutes to an hour all during the week on their basic core skills and their lessons. Like she was saying, we are excited to see in winter, to see how that's where we're going to see growth, hopefully. Our seniors are doing a career planning course. It's called Courseware, where they actually take a class. I got 2 girls doing, they're thinking about going into the medical field, so they're taking a class on medical language, like all of the terms. And one of them is thinking she may not go into that profession. Then the other one is the ACT study island. I don't know. This is and I guess if you really have someone that's really wanting to get into the study island, Miss Deanna Malabat created this for all the juniors, and she went and took all of the ACT questions so that we're trying to do, we used to do ACT prep last year, but because we started out with no gear up, we didn't have the mastery prep kind of stuff. So we had to invent our own. We found it in Edminum. And so then this is just the numbers of the kids and the lessons that they've been doing for our ACT study questions. Next Tuesday is going to be our annual Battle of the Kootenai. This one's a fun day for us. We're going to start it early in the day. I think start at 1.
Yep.
Boys or girls first? Girls are first this year. Then we clear the gym and stick the wrestling mats out there. We have a wrestling match. And then we clear that off and we finish up the evening with the boys game. So it's a big event. I love the way it's grown. This year we're going to do it in the day so that we're going to have a swags day, and students who are in great standing get to go watch the game for free. So hopefully we have a good turnout for that, and the kids stick around for the last one. All right?
Jim, I got a graduation question. How does a kid graduate early here? Is it
Early?
possible? Yeah.
They have to see me their junior year spring semester. Okay, here's an example. So I had one kid who said he's going to do it. So he had to write me a proposal of why. Then I have to bring it to you guys, and you have to say, yes, I approve of this or not. The criteria is pretty easy. Most of the time, they're going into the military, they're going to start school early, they've got a career path that they're starting, more power to them. If not, then they need to stick it out because you have to have 2 required classes as a senior, English and government. And so if you don't, one's offered first semester, one's second. So that's why those kids have to be here all year. So if you do approve it, then they have to do both of those classes. And it stinks now because we used to do it reverse, but we don't do that we don't have the number of teachers anymore. So now they'd have to do it online. And so it can happen.
Okay. Our policy in our handbook, yeah, there's really no requirement, so I was curious.
There is no requirement.
Other than credits.
And board approval, it should say that.
In the policy, it does, yeah. It just seemed like that wasn't that much, so I wanted to make sure that there wasn't more.
And that's a good point, because even like this young man kind of fit to me, and I pulled my approval on it. I said no. So, yeah, I guess you could. So like that little thing, that spiel about why you're doing it has to be justified. I can put that.
We had a young gal within the last few years, didn't we? Or has it been longer than I think?
We had a couple through the alt school that they came over and they were able
I
to get
thought-
done early here.
Well,
That's
maybe
different.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, it was about 2 years ago. It was after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Your name.
So, something else to look at.
Yeah.
Okay, here's just a typical behavior report. It's showing last year, this year, the top one is referrals by grade. Again, it's a little unusual, I think.
It's not unusual for me.
Yeah, the ninth grade, usually, as you can see, the graph on the left is pretty typical. 8, middle school higher than 9, 10, 11, 12, but we have a unique ninth grade class that's 8 ahead of last year. And
Sixth graders is the largest.
so that's kind of how it lays out. And then on the bottom, it's very similar location, classroom meeting, obviously, last year, this year.
It is annoying how Mark laughs every time he walks by my office now.
Yeah. And then days of the week. It's kind of more balanced, I guess, this year. It's kind of,
Saturday and Sunday look pretty good.
yeah, no, they are. Days off on Saturday, Sunday. And the bottom is by time. You can take that, however you want to take it, but,
This is what he'll take to the leadership team Wednesday to see if we see any things we want to tackle for second semester.
What happens at 1:45?
Yeah.
in the middle school, yeah.
Okay.
Middle school, yeah.
And there's many times I think a middle school student, I don't know, I don't know, it's.
They come back from lunch, they're hyped up, they go into
Lunch, yeah.
It's just the core values, and they think it's.
And depending on, how they feel about the elective class, because they don't get to choose their elective class, we have them in a set.
Teaching it.
Schedule. Right, it's not really true elective, it's required set elective for them. But yeah, that's a high number there. Same time. Okay, what next one there? Tennis Matters Award, we did it every 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, and 8th grade, the 7th, 8th grade compete, and 8th grade won, and this winners received a ice cream bar treat of some sort, and the 12th graders, I think so far this whole year, the 12th graders have topped all of the classes every 4 to 5 weeks, and they rarely won last year. They probably won a few times, but yeah. So they get an award for that. And next time will be pizza. Nick, do you want to?
Yeah, athletics, obviously, we're kind of in between seasons, just starting winter sports. Middle school basketball, we got our last game tomorrow in Eureka, and it's been I'm coaching middle school basketball this year, and we have a group of kids that are working hard, and they're really fun to be around, so it's been a good experience. Our 7th grade team's having a few more wins, but our 8th grade team has improved a ton. We got to watch them play Summers this weekend, and Summers has some good players, and they're coming along. They're going to be good. To me, the most exciting part, because I've been coaching a lot of these 7th graders for a few years now in travel ball, every kid on that 8th grade team and that 7th grade team wants to play in our travel ball this winter, which is really cool. So I have 11 7th graders signed up right now to go to tournaments with us all winter. 8th grade, I think the entire team except for one kid are signed up to play. So it's a good thing for basketball. High school sports winter, obviously wrestling, we're at 32 participants as of Friday. They went to the Polson Invite and they ended up second as a team, which it's been a long time since we placed in the top 2 or 3 at that Polson Invite. So it's a good weekend for them. Girls and boys basketball. Girls were at 20, boys were at 21, and they head to the tip-off tournament this weekend in Frenchtown. Did we lose 4 girls?
Yeah.
I
thought we had 24.
Girls. 24.
No, we were expecting 24 to come out. 20 came out. Yeah, there's a few of our one class we have where a couple of girls didn't come out, but actually, I think it was the class that I think it was. We still had 7 from that class come out. Speech and debate. We have 8 participants now. We picked up 1 more.
And then again, we already talked about this Saturday's event that's taking place here.
Is it during the wrestling match as well? Wrestling at the same day or?
Wrestling's on the road this weekend.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that would be a busy place.
It wouldn't be good.
Mhm.
So there's a few grant updates. The CW Flip grant, which stands for Class Winning Function, really enriched teams. There's 2 teachers that participated in that, and I kind of participated with them too. There was $10,000 grant that came in. Teachers actually got rewarded some too, because they're part in it. It was just a positive classroom type strategy, and they both seemed to really like doing it. And so we had on hold 4 vape sensors at that special price they gave us, which is a really good deal with that for 4. So those have been purchased, and the grant has $7,320 left. That came from University of Kansas. Then the Water Foundation grant is we're looking at getting 7 new of those bottle fill stations throughout the school. We had set for 10 locations, one also in the girls' locker room, boys' PE locker room, the 2 general locker rooms they use in the weight room. But the bid for the plumbing came in much higher than I thought it'd come in. So we had set it. That's about $29,000 to install those 7. It's a local plumber and a local electrician has to, do a lot of work in some of the areas of those locations. Like those 3 white water porcelain water fountains in front as you walk in. I don't think anybody drinks out of them. There's only one that has water come out, and I wouldn't. I mean, I'd like to make a trick out. So I think this would be a huge plus for the school.
I would recommend not drinking out of those. Water there from the
So,
70s.
I mean, and talking to Mort and the welding shop, because that would be great. Because, they all have to leave, and I guess if they want water out in the hot, then wood, they got to do too. Probably over to the one by the gym, so.
I think we only have 3 in the whole school, so.
Yeah, we just have 3 of those. So that's something the Lord feels really good that will be accepted and see some new ones soon. Renton Middle School Parent Council, we had our second meeting tonight. Just to talk some of the things that we look to strive to do in that council. And tonight we looked at creating a nonprofit, which we kind of touched on last month too. Upcoming coverage for concessions, and thanks to Scott, who's spent our 50/50 to some of the games that we'll do. And so right now the balance is 0, but we have some excited parents and that will raise some money for that organization. And we have a school dance coming up this Friday. So if you're really bored, 4 o'clock, you're welcome to come see the middle schoolers do their thing at the stand.
Yes.
So those are some of the topics we're talking about.
You should try and sell those bubblers, those white porcelain.
Oh, so
Auction?
They have to be some kind of a,
Vintage.
yes, vintage drinking fountains.
yeah.
Mark, I got a couple athletic questions. Some of them can wait till we get to the coaches, but can you walk me through remind me at the end of the season how we deal with the coaches going towards the end of the year and then to next year?
So like for example.
Outgoing coaches, yeah.
Right, so we do an evaluation. It has a form that we go through with the coach to have like an exit interview with them. And at that point, we recommend to let they know if we're interested in bringing them back. And so and that's the head varsity coach. So.
Okay, we don't do the assistants anymore then?
No, we leave that up to the varsity coach if they want to do something with their assistants.
Okay.
I thought we had decided to evaluate all coaches.
I thought we had 2.
That was what we wrote about.
Nick, did we not discuss evaluating all coaches at some point?
No, as far as I've known, we've always just done head coaches, but we do ask head coaches, obviously, any concerns with your assistants, what's your plan for next year?
So we don't give an assistant coach their expectations for next year, whether or not we're gonna bring them back. We leave that up to the head coaches.
No, we're part of that decision too.
So we do talk to the assistant coaches.
No, we do not talk to assistant coaches. We talk to head coaches.
Okay.
Only at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was under the impression as well that we were going to evaluate all coaches from the athletic director. Those are the conversations we've had, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I had recalled
And so
in the past. Yeah.
So we can do that.
Well, I think it's important because, I mean,
Feedback.
yeah, you need feedback not only from their head coach, but
Right.
from others that are there.
Yeah, I know there are programs where the head coach does that, the assistants, and that's true. But
And what the head coach does with the assistants is fine, but from a administrative point, a school point, I feel like these are paid employees essentially, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
I do think we need to be talking, having a conversation with them from our aspect of,
yeah,
I mean, if we have budget constraints and you as an administrator knows that we can't bring that coach back, I think that would be the time to say, hey, you know, our numbers aren't looking good, our budget's not good, we may not bring you back. I mean, I think
And
it's,
it might help us so we're not in this mess every single month of hiring a coach, not hiring a coach. How many do we need? I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about that. And I just think there's got to be a better way of doing this. This is not working.
yeah, I think with our attendance in our population, it's, I'm not sure what the better way would be. I mean, if we recommend at the end of the season, all 6 basketball coaches come back, and then, but we still have to wait to see what numbers come out.
see,
Well,
I think we're missing something because we were supposed to have a conversation. I'm going to use boys and girls basketball as an example because that seems to be the number that always fluctuates. I was going to wait to bring these comments up, but we were supposed to have a conversation when we hit 25 athletes, whether or not we were going to have that third coach, because we were going with the 10-to-1 ratio. And obviously 25 is that breaking point. We're down to 20. I was under the impression it was 24 and 21. I can check back on our thing, but I feel like we're missing.
24.
I'm missing something here. Yeah, we were.
When did this conversation take place?
Same time we talked about all the evaluations.
And
Same
when
time
we were,
When was this?
last
Last
year,
year.
yeah, we were talking about, making sure it had as needed in contracts, like,
That's all done.
That's the contract.
And then we
Right.
talked about numbers and we were supposed to have the conversation whether we brought that third coach back at 25. And we're well below that number. I mean, clearly.
And I don't remember that conversation at all, but I remember at the budget meeting in November, I told you guys the numbers we were expecting and that we were gonna do 3 of each program. Because we were gonna offer 3 teams. My conversation that I remember last year, and don't, like, believe me, I could be wrong. If we offer 3 teams, we have 3 coaches, is what I thought we discussed when we were talking about all the
Well-
budget cuts last year.
We talked, 25 was the number, because it was always a
The
10.
hard thing about sports is like, you can't put a number on it.
And if we have
You have
to.
to.
I mean,
Per sport, it varies per sport.
oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It does vary, but the one in particular we're talking about was basketball. Because those numbers are hard with coaching and the quarters and travel. I mean, and it was always from you guys, we want the 10-to-1 ratio and basketball, football, i.e. whatever. And then when we talked last year, when we had, our numbers were getting low, we said we need to have a conversation at 25, once our number gets to 25. We weren't that low last year.
Yeah, we were lower than 20 last year.
we only had 2 basketball
Yeah.
coaches
Yeah,
on
we offered
each.
2 teams.
Well, I don't think we have anything to do with how many teams you offer.
You don't. That's
Exactly.
right.
So,
it's-
but coaches,
The conversation we had last year, when we were doing all the budget work, we try to keep it 1 to 10 for individual sports. And if it's a team sport, you offer 3 teams, you get 3 coaches.
I don't ever remember agreeing
I
to
don't
go with
remember
3 coaches.
I'd
so.
like to see our notes from this meeting, because that's a lot of new
well,
stuff to me.
well, regardless, I mean, we're into a critical point of students, athletes. I don't think we need to be offering 3 teams at this point. I don't think we can afford 3 coaches with that amount of number of students. I don't think we're getting what we're paying into the program. I don't think we're getting it out. I mean, we can't continue to pay or hire coaches when we don't have the athletes. We're going to start losing sports as a whole if we don't make these cuts that we've been talking about for years. The cuts have been coming for years, and I don't think we're doing that from our point of view, from our standpoint.
I think we've done that the last 2 years in boys basketball. That's been our staff's decision to go to 2 teams and offer 2 coaches. Because
So
we
so
thought
why
that's
are we
what was best.
offering another one?
Because we thought that's what was best for the current kids we had in the program.
How many how many kids last year were there?
19, Josh?
19.
We had 19 last year, and is it okay if I talk? Or not?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing about basketball last year compared to this year is it depends on the makeup of the kids. Last year we had a lot of upper kids and we had a group of lower kids, and it made absolutely 0 sense for these lower kids to play a JV game. It wouldn't have done them any good. It would have put them in a really bad position. So we made a decision that we were just going to play those 2 games, those 2. Now this year we have 9 freshmen, 6 sophomores, and 6 juniors and seniors. So now those kids that were freshmen last year are now able to bump up to a JV game, and we have all those freshmen to play a freshman game. So now it's like, okay, these kids are ready. They've got a year underneath their belt. They're a year older, and we can play, and we can have a JV team. Because last year it wasn't the right thing for our kids. It wasn't the best thing for them. And even with, so that's just how that.
I appreciate that, Josh. I guess the bigger picture, what I'm trying to wrap my mind around is that the finances aren't there. I mean, point blank. We continue to ask the public for help with the football stadium, the track, the concession stand, and we have to make these cuts at some point. And as far as I'm understanding, we're looking at maybe some work on the track that's going to cost a lot of money. We have our outdated buildings that we have to pay and upgrade and upkeep. The budget cuts have to come from somewhere. We can't continue at this. So I mean, maybe at some point we just need to only hire 2 coaches, period. And then our program's just going to have to adapt to it.
And I think that's a real possibility because we've talked about this and talked about this. None of us want to see cuts in sports or any other extracurricular. But something is going to happen. I mean, they're not the only area where there have to be cuts. We're asking everybody to look at things because the money is not coming in to meet what we need. It just seems like we are forever getting requests for coaches. And then we think we have one number and we're down because we have been carrying 24 as girls. So that's what we've been carrying.
Where did that come from?
Well, not from us.
We're not sure.
I think it came, like you said, from the projected numbers.
Could be. Yeah.
I'm going to look at last.
Brittany?
I was just gonna mention that myself and my assistant coach, our ratio is 1-22, 1-23 last year.
Yeah.
So if we're operating under that 1-10, we need to get something in writing, and it should be program specific then, not a surprise. Because that 1-10 was said to me at my coach's eval last year, that was the general rule of thumb. We had 2 coaches for 45 this year, 6 through 12th grade. So if you want to look at the developmental and difference in abilities from a 6th to a 12th grader, we could have conversations about that and the lack of safety and a whole number of issues. But we operated under that 1-22, 1-23.
Which that has been pretty typical. I mean, not saying that quite those high numbers. Middle school has a tendency to operate at higher ratio than middle school or than high school does. So I think that's normally higher, maybe not quite as high as you had to deal with.
Whole program, my
Right.
high school ratio is 1 to 23, my high school ratio.
Oh, for,
Yes, it's 2 of us.
I'm sorry.
6th through 12th grade.
okay, I'm sorry, I was thinking basketball in my brain, so I apologize, I was
No,
confused. You were talking cross country. Okay.
Quick question, Nick and Josh, you guys might be able to answer this. What do you see for the numbers, like in basketball, girls and boys basketball in the next 4 or 5 years? What are you thinking that's gonna look like?
Well, okay.
8th grade right now, we got,
I'm gonna write this down, no, just.
So, currently we have 3 seniors and 3 juniors, within the program. And right now we have 9 or 10 8th graders and 10 or 11 7th graders. So we anticipate the numbers going up because of what we're gonna graduate, what we're gonna bring in.
High school.
Just on a side note, I really have a hard time when we start talking numbers. That's it. I just don't think that that's right. I think you guys are worried about money, but what happens when we have 3 teams and there's 2 coaches and we don't have a Scott Beagle anymore that's volunteered his time, that we're at an away game and a kid blows out a knee and has to go to the hospital. We got to send a coach with them. Now we got 1 coach supervising 3 different teams, trying to finish up a game and get another game ready. I mean, and if we don't send a coach with the kid, we're liable because those kids are part of within our school. And I just think it's kind of a bad precedent to start, and the supervision of the kids and the responsibility of the kids within our stead. Boy, I mean, there's a slippery slope there.
I totally agree with you, Josh, but like I said, we've asked the public for gobs of money. That concession stand, we've over $100,000. Did we need to go that big? No, we didn't. But you start looking at that when you keep asking the public for more money, and we're paying coaches and our buildings aren't getting maintained. We still have to do pay raises. I mean, we have to, maybe we should start doing our programs based off the budget. You get 2 coaches. If you choose to have 3 teams, then that's on you. If you don't think it's safe, then you do 2 teams. I mean, it is about dollars and cents when you boil it down.
You get a varsity coach and you get a JV coach.
I mean, yeah, I
And
think.
you make do, and if you want to have 12 kids on your varsity team, then you suck it up and take those 2 kids.
I think that's what we need to do.
I mean,
But
that's
if numbers
what we
warrant,
did
they have to
when I was in high school.
Then we would have to cut kids, Mark. I mean,
well, I think the biggest
Well,
thing in
or you
athletic
try that.
programs, we want to build our programs to be the best they can be.
I agree.
So right now, our numbers are a little low, so we're gonna cut kids because of our budget. So now we're never gonna get our programs up.
If we don't get more money, I don't know how to put it, Nick. I mean, I don't want to cut sports, period.
I also don't think that adding a coach, like, I think that looking within the program is also critical here. Who's evaluating the programs? Adding a coach is, I mean.
This is having a coach. We've had 3 coaches for except for 2 years. But we, as a committee, agreed, okay, we can cut back to 2 this year because of what's going on.
That's great, but how's the basketball program?
It's on the building, hopefully.
Well, and I think a little competition, for lack of a better word, makes kids strive to be better. We don't want to have to beg kids to come play so that we can create a team. We want them to want to come play. Like, hey, I'm going to work hard and try my best in those, instead of having people convince them to come.
Yeah, and
I think
we're trying to convince kids to come play. I think we maybe could do a better job of that, but that's not the kids that we're looking for to build the program. We need the kids that are committed.
Right, but you have several people not go out, and you're trying to convince them to come play, and they don't really want to play. I mean, they're not going to give their 100%, I guess is what I'm saying. If you convince said athletes that didn't play this year to come play, they're only going to be half-hearted in it because they were on the fence to not. That's just a thought, is all I'm saying. Is I understand you want to build the program but just having warm bodies on a court is not necessarily building a program.
I don't think we have that problem.
No, I think it's all their decision. They know how much work it is.
If we, the other thing we need to look at too is if we don't slim all sports, we're gonna lose a sport. And that's not fair. I would rather keep the sports we have, slim the sports that we have down, if that's a possibility. And if a sport numbers drop below where we can't field a team, then the community doesn't want it. The kids don't want it. I mean, that's realistically what we're looking at. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I have a tough time biting on that one because you just said we need to go to 2 coaches and make cuts for the programs that are low in numbers. We're gonna cut them lower.
I didn't say cut. I didn't say that. I said basketball.
Make cuts and go to 2 teams.
For basketball, yeah.
I said if they go to 2 coaches, they're gonna have to cut.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna tell you how many teams you can have. I don't think that's our position. We can tell you how many coaches. And if you, like I said, if you choose to have 3 teams and you can get those kids and 2 coaches, it just is what it is. I mean, you're gonna decide if you wanna make cuts. It's not a board decision if I'm mistaken.
Would you need to make cuts if you have 2 teams?
Yeah, how many do you normally sit on a bench?
It's really hard because all the discipline problems that come and all the parent problems that come when kids don't play. So if you keep 20, 21 kids and you're only offering 2 teams, you're gonna have kids not play. That's the advantage.
So that would be
Well,
10
that's the
kids on
advantage
each team?
That's the advantage of what we want to do this year is a varsity, a JV, and freshman, because we can get a lot of good playing time where the kids develop skills on. If we cut this and we just say, oh, you only get a freshman team in the varsity again, we're gonna have a handful of kids. And I hate to say this, we had a girl last year that quit because she was one that should have been playing JV and we weren't offering it at the beginning of the year. It's just, it's not good when you keep kids that aren't gonna play at high school level. I think we can all agree to that.
You know,
Is there another way, money-wise? I mean, I've looked at it, and the coaches don't make jack. They make $10 an hour at best for all the hours they put in. So, but is there another way to pay the coaches, to pay an extra, to have 2 main coaches? And I mean, is the telethon money, the hour-a-thon, can any of that money be?
I think we looked at this in football where Coach Hanna wanted, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, he would have liked to have another assistant coach and he was trying to use the telethon money to make it work. I think there's something wrong with that 284 account paying a coach. Is that right, Stacy? Let's listen.
It's gotta go back to the kids.
It's got to go back to the kids, which, I mean, you can make that argument probably, but
We've done it in different things in the past. We had 2 coaches that the time was a part of it too. Please, this is an apple and orange. You're just asking for options. You have X number of dollars and those 2 coaches split one of those salaries. Like one didn't travel to every game. They did every one because it was a time limit for them. So is there other ways to keep 3 people? If money is X number of dollars is what you're gonna get, and that might be something you guys look at. Each sport's gonna get this number of dollars, pay whatever you want, with the many people you want. Because if you're going into coaching in high school for the money, you're really dire. You're in tough shape. No. So, and that was the answer to your question.
Well, and even
There is other ways to spread the money.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Even like tip-off, for example, right? I love tip-off. But I had forgotten myself that they only play 2 games. That's a big trip, overnight trip for 2 games. You know, I thought they were going to at least get to play 2 each day. And I mean, that cost alone, I assume, would be close to paying for a coach.
that's, our teams pay for that one.
And you guys paid that, yes.
Out of the hour time.
That's just like,
We made cuts, our programs pay their own way for that.
that's the same as a traditional week though. They'll play a Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, 1 game each. Very seldom, unless you're in a division or state, we play more than 1 a day.
But the costs understand on that.
Yeah. Okay, I
Yeah, but
do
again,
need to kind of redirect us back again. Sorry.
But those trips, that was paid by your fundraiser.
Our programs are paying those now. Those aren't even school funded anymore.
Okay, so we will have kind of another chance to readdress this in the future here in a few minutes. So let's get back to the agenda. And Scott, do you have a report for us?
Sure, you want me to follow that?
Sorry.
This is under new business too, so I don't want to talk out of turn or not, but just to, we've talked about this before, but I teach CPI to all of our paraprofessionals, sped teachers, and my elementary admin. It's basically a foundation program that kind of talks about working with kids with de-escalating skills. If you get into a restraint and altercation with a kid, how to disengage yourself, how to hold properly, kind of keep the legality of it. So within the program, the nonviolent crisis intervention is the actual training. When I have to buy these lovely little training books, and they have these little blue cards in the back, that's what lets me I take their number and I put it into the computer to CPI, and it says that they're certified. The blue card certified kind of became a big deal the last couple of years, working with some kids that parents questioned, what kind of training do these people have to work with my child? And so we've used this as a foundation. It's one of two programs. It's kind of, I would say, that the state recommends. The other one is MAT training. I don't like MAT training. I like this one's better. So just kind of, again, just remind you what that looks like. The next slide. Well, yeah, we'll talk about the new business. But right now, I always worked on the last 5 or 6 years. I've worked on the impression these blue cards are only good for a year. So every year I have to retrain everybody to get their blue cards. These books are $33 a piece, and every person needs one to get certified. So they're very proud of their stuff. It's wonderful stuff, but they're very proud of it. For me to get recertified every 2 years, it's probably $4,000 to $5,000. By the time that I pay for the class, I got to go to Spokane for 2 days, take the class. So again, to be able to keep us doing this is kind of expensive. So I got recertified this summer, and talking to the instructor, they said, well, being a blue card certified doesn't necessarily mean it means that you're certified, but you can go longer than that. They said if the school district makes, I don't want to call it a policy, but just understands that they accept that whatever we consider as a district, we consider what we want being certified in CPI. And so talking with Mr. Goodman, I want to bring a proposal where, new staff come in, new admin, new teachers, we certify them, their CPI, their blue card. And every other year, every 2 years for admin and sped teachers, I just do we do a refresher course. We go back through everything, basically do the same class, refresh everything, but I don't necessarily have to buy the booklets to do that. Paras, I'm recommending that we would do every, certify them, refresher, then we recertify. So we kind of do a rotation with our staff, so we're not spending all the money to recertify. Plus, it's not, it seems silly to have to recertify them every year and spend the money. So what I'll propose in the new business is that just, if you guys would accept this as the board saying, yeah, we think that is appropriate for our staff to still be considered certified under this rotation, that's what I kind of looking to do. So I just think, again, new staff come in, we train them, we document just to train them, we do the recertification, we do the refreshers, and then every other year, every third year that we actually just recertify them. Just, again, not necessarily to save money, but it saves on time, and I think, a 2-hour refresher is plenty to go over some of this. So just kind of wanted to bring that up and have you guys, it's on that first couple sheets that I gave you, just so you guys kind of understood what exactly that is and kind of what we do with it. But that's kind of my proposal in the new business, that you guys just accept this proposal as kind of what we consider to be certified and functioning under the right credentials for our staff to still be able to do what we're doing, is what I was kind of looking to propose for that part. Any questions about that part before I move on?
Is this a state, did you get certified through the state? Or
it's a CPI is like a national company. It actually, CPI is like, when I go to training, I'm with probation officers, I'm with a lot of hospital people who work in mental health facilities, like correctional facility. So it's meant to be, it's a global, but there's a school aspect of it as well. So, and again, 95% of it is, I think this is on there, we talk about how you handle situations to make things better or worse. Understanding yourself, understanding how you can be the one to de-escalate a situation, or you can be the one who escalates it based on how you handle situations. It's some great conversations, a lot of just reflecting on who you are, how you handle things, what you should do. And then really the small part of it is the actual physicality of having restraints when handle. And there's a common vocabulary that I think is really important.
So this is instead of MAT training.
This is instead of MAT training. Similar but different.
But
I think
you think this is better?
I do.
That's- Yeah,
Yes,
that's,
I do, and I've been through both, and I like this a lot better. So,
Okay.
okay. Real quick on the grant, the new grant. I call it the grant, I don't know what it's called. I think they're calling it Montana Read, is what they're calling it. They finally, OPS had a website for about 2 months now that hasn't been working. The link, and so they finally got the link fixed. So they finally got out the actual, this is the actual grant that they wrote to the federal government to get the grant. It's about 50 pages long. If you would like to have it, I'm happy to share it with you. Just got it about 11 o'clock today. But this was kind of a quick timeline of what they're looking at. Again, in the next week or next week, we should be getting some type of letter saying, Libby Public Schools, you guys are eligible to apply for this grant. January, they're supposed to be having just some around the state. They're going to be having some trainings on what the grant's looking at, what we need to be doing. Obviously, if we're one of the schools, we would attend that. Going to write it January, February. It's due in March, so there's a quick turnaround for it. We'll find out in May, if we get it or not. So
you're gonna be able to use some of the information we've already generated for the other grants?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I figured, yeah.
And then again, just today, the next slide, for you guys' information, there's 5 preferences, priority that actually, these are the 5 requirements that you need to be able to apply for it. Usually you have to meet one of those. I listened to, obviously, we do not have above 50% Native American population. That's the first needs they're going after. Both our elementary and our high school are in schools of support, which again actually helps us. Our special ed is actually, I checked it today, we're at 13%. We have no English learners. We're at 0%. We've been there for about 5-6 years. And then our free and reduced lunch, the qualifications, high school at 40, elementary at 50, we're at 43 and 57. So we meet 3 of the 5 targets that they're looking at. So I obviously think we're going to be eligible to apply for it. And then as Lisa's reading through the document, they're looking at 30 schools. So they're looking at 30 schools in the state applying and being accepted into the grant is what they're looking at. So I think we have a good chance. And again, which is really, education drives me crazy. All the data that they're using to base our stuff on is based off of 22, 23. So we're a year and a half ago, because there is no 23, 24 data because that was the new state testing and they're not using any of that data as for your schools. So they're talking about us being in a targeted school or additional support school. They're talking about data that is, 2 years old. And I think like for the high school, I mean, our last year's ACT scores were fabulous. Going further, so they're using the older ones, not the newer ones. So technically when we start writing a grant, a lot of our data is going to look really good because we've had a lot of jumps in some areas. But just so you guys can understand what's going on, like I said, we're supposed to know in December, which there's only really, this week and next week before. So I'm guessing that should be out at some point this week that we'll apply for it. And I'm assuming that at the January board meeting, we would have to get some type of just an approval or a, do you want us to go after this? Yes or no type thing. I think it'll be very similar to the other ones you're talking about. I'm guessing a 450 to 500,000 a year for a 4 or 5 year type span that they'll clean the district, is my guess.
How many schools got last? Off the top of your head?
In the last one?
They're using 30 now.
Yeah.
Was it roughly 30?
I think the last one was a lot lower. I think the last one was like, I was gonna say 18.
Yeah, I remember like on the elementary side, it was there were
Yeah.
16 schools.
And what happened was they made it, last one had to be a K-12 program. It had to be an all-district event. I think this is gonna be the same.
Oh.
It has to be a school district, committing to this, not just an elementary or a high school. So some of those schools that have split districts, it makes it a little harder.
Ooh.
So, and again, honestly, I hate to say it, but it depends on how many Native American schools decide to apply for. That plays a big factor because they're gonna get first preference. So, just again, just an update on kind of what's going on with the grant stuff. Just, we're very patiently waiting to get the stuff so we can start. Hopefully we get started, but we should. I can't imagine not. So, I mean, there's no way that a school can meet all those unless you're on a reservation. So, I think that's all I had, wasn't it, Leslie? Yeah, just tell. So, just a couple things I want to share with you.
Okay. Ron.
I'll be fast.
Okay.
Significant increase in communication. I'm assuming that runs because of parent-teacher conferences. High school hit 100 posts, middle school 38, and elementary 355. Then Parent Square, as far as I'm concerned, is a really powerful school for us. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Next slide. Charter school update. This has been a lot of getting ready to roll with that. We had to put public comment out, and the questions that I wrote were all the affirmative as far as if you like it, you're going to say I like it. If you don't like it, you're going to say you don't like it. And so strongly disagree down to strongly agree. But basically what I saw in this, 102 people take the survey, and roughly 80% of the people either strongly agreed or and then added to the agree or strongly agreed. So I got 68.6% on this question of helping students grow and graduate, even if it's in a different setting, 80%. And let's just roll through those. Next slide. I believe the increased funding through innovative charter schools makes good sense in Montana and Libby. So what's taking place in the state is that there are these charter schools, they're innovative charter schools, and they're saying, what can we do to make kids successful? What can we do? And it goes like anything that's innovative. So they're trying to put these laboratories all over the state of Montana, and they're willing to pay money for it. And so that's the deal. And so that's what we're working on right now. Next slide. Again, if you look at these, interesting. When I sent this out on Parent Square, in like the first 2 minutes, I had six responses. It was just like that quick. Like one person, they must have been like waiting for it or something. I don't know what else. They don't have anything to do in this world. And it was like, I don't know, 6 seconds after I pushed the button, I got a response. But really the pie graphs don't change after 6 people. The 6 people had the pie graph going, and it just didn't change. It was basically 80%, and that were in favor strongly or just agreed with it.
I just happened to be on.
It wasn't you because they filled out some information and it was a woman. And she said, yeah, let's try it about. And then I'm failed specialized instruction. So there was really a lot of people that took the survey, and for the most part, it was pretty supported. Next slide. I'll say one more thing. The other part on this is the preparation for the interview with the Board of Education. We're preparing for that. Elida and myself and Scott are going to be the people that are doing it, and I think it's going to go well, and it will be a good event for the alternative school upstairs, and it'll be a good event for the school district as well. Next, don't move. This is a project that is uplifting. The lift station behind the high school. There is, it's like 200 feet of a 10-inch pipe, takes the wastewater out of the high school and pumps it up. That big concrete basin, that's where the pumps sit in. And and these pumps have been almost like 50 years, three-phase pumps. And as much as I know that this is exciting, there is something interesting here. The rest of the story is this. The 10-inch pipe, 200 yards of it, and I did this on Google Earth, 200 yards of that pipe is over 2,000 gallons of wastewater. So we will pump this water up into the main wastewater on Education Way. And one of the problems that we had is the check valve was worn out. And so literally we would pump this water 2,000 gallons up and then we would shut the pump and they would just come right back in. So there was some wastewater that took a lot of rides. And then even worse than that is the other wastewater coming down Education Way could go right into our, if there's access for it, it could go right into our, and we'd pump it right back out again. So this is one of those situations that if we didn't, we felt that this was looking bad, it sounded bad, and to get it fixed before it broke. It took 3 months to get these pumps in. If we would have waited for that thing to break, we would have been sitting there with a JMF truck for 3 months. And I don't know, I don't want to calculate that cost. The cost of this project was $60,000. And as much as we have the saying in the maintenance with the maintenance crew is the only thing more expensive than not fixing stuff is another thing that more expensive than fixing stuff is not fixing it. This could have been a very bad situation for the middle high school. That would have been a real problem for 3 months. So next slide. Work at Plummer. I just took this really great day to take a picture of the softball field. But I am just so impressed with these people that have been donating their time, energy, and money to make that softball field. It's going to be really great. One of my recommendations is that we write them a letter. There's a group of these guys that are doing this. Write them a letter of thanks and maybe a little option to say, hey, thanks for your dedication to this community and so and kids. So it is really looking great. And I had a couple conversations with some of those guys that are doing it, and yeah, it's just a really great project that's taking place. 10 years from now, when there's a subdivision behind there and people are leaning over the fences and watching softball, that'd be a great deal. So, some miscellaneous items. Farmers market. I've made an appointment with the farmers market folks, and I'm going to talk to the Memorial Center. And I think our desire would be to get a win-win out of it. If we can have the farmers market in and around here without tearing up the grass and making a mess, that'd be super. So they're going to come with a proposal as far as how they could take the herd and move it on a regular basis so it's not a problem. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And so next item, emergency power backup. When we had the power outage, months ago, and we realized that we were really dealing with over $100,000 worth of food in the freezers and coolers. And if we lose that food, it's a serious problem. So what we're looking at doing is getting a Loar Foundation to go ahead and have these connections that we can just bring a generator in there and run the kitchen and run the coolers and the freezers. And what we are saying to the Loar Foundation is if there is an emergency in this community, we would be able to feed a lot of people. And the ESSER money that we used to build the kitchen basically said that we would be, would we have the capacity to help the community during a pandemic? Well, pandemic or fire or whatever like that, I think it'd be a really great option for us in the school to have this, because the day that we have another power outage, it's going to be out for longer than 2 days. We're going to have a loss of a lot of food, and I don't know how we get it back in time to feed the school. So I think that'd be a great option, and I think it would be really even a great situation if we had a real problem, a bad forest fire, and we didn't have power on for a long period of time. It would be helpful.
Well, the school up in Eureka, when they were out of power, just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, for 4 days.
Oh,
and
sure.
the school helped feed the community and stuff because,
Yeah, there we go. So our thought is to get an MOU with Noble Industries or whoever wants to enter into agreement with this, because I don't want to have a generator here that we would use every 20 years. Because my fear is, we'd come up there, well, who didn't charge the battery, it doesn't work, they can't start. But I just think we can get an MOU with some people in the town and back that thing up, and I think it'd be a very good deal. Any questions, comments on anybody opposed? We can chat. I had a thought is if there's a food shortage and we're having to feed people, this is a serious time for making money on it. I'm just kidding. Last one is swatting. Swatting is a term used to describe action making a hoax of phone calls, and this is taking place. We dealt with this. I sent information out to board members, but what's taking place? We had across the state of Montana, schools getting, hey, we're going to shoot people up and do all this kind of stuff. And in this situation, what was taking place is people were making phone calls to the veterans hotline and saying, I'm snapping and I'm going to go shoot schools up in these communities across Montana. And when it was all said and done, we found out it was overseas people calling and hoaxing us. So bottom line, I think everything went pretty well, and communication was pretty clear. I only had one parent tell me, why didn't we know about this sooner? Well, 15 minutes is pretty good time. So.
Do we still have the sheriff's department coming through on a regular basis?
I don't know about the sheriff's department, but Cody Erkenbrack lives here. Yeah, Erkenbrack is great. Yeah.
Do they go through the schools at all still?
Yeah, we had one today.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's been a really good deal. That is it. That is all.
Okay, then we will move on then. Moving on to personnel, it looks like we do not have any resignation, retirements, reduction of force, or non-renewals. So we will move on to the consideration of 24-25 staff contracts, starting with updates to the substitute list. It looks like we are adding 5. Why is Taryn?
Thompson?
Yeah. Is she coming back, or is it just while she's here?
That's the elementary.
Winter break.
Oh, fun. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the 24-25 substitution hire list, the 5 as noted.
Second.
I have a motion by Sam and a second by Rob to approve the update to the substitute list. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, moving on to additional coach requests. So we will separate them. We will start with Mr. Beagle, so we can have any more discussion.
Could we still have those numbers at 21?
Yes. I do have a question on Mr. Beagles. Obviously, we didn't get the information correctly. All 3 of those should have been brought forth earlier, correct? Is that where we screwed up?
What do you mean?
What?
Like you did
Like you did the girls program. We had all 3 coaches we wanted on there, and you've already approved those 3. For some reason, we let Mr. Beagles off. We should have had them all approved, whether numbers warrant or not.
In June, yeah.
In June.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll fix that in the future, yeah.
But I do think we need to have discussion about warranting numbers. We have to have some fairly solid numbers in there, because and I understand it's going to be different and it's going to have to be a little bit flexible, but.
I just was looking at numbers, the 25 that you brought up, Sam. There's 2 girls programs in Western Montana with 25 or more. And it's a sad all the way across.
Yeah,
the board.
it is. Absolutely. I
It's
agree.
just the numbers are down, so that's a tough number.
So I guess at this point, we need a motion on whether to hire a 3rd coach. And then we can have more questions and comments about it and then vote. So it has to be an affirmative motion.
I make a motion to approve Scott Beagle as a coach.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve Scott Beagle being hired as a third basketball coach by Sam and a second by BG. Any questions or comments?
Yes. We don't have the numbers.
Why would we?
I'm sorry, Scott.
Coach. We have 20 kids?
Yeah.
21. We're up from the last 2 years.
21 kids. I personally do not see it.
I don't either.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before making a motion or before having a vote? No? Okay. All those in favor of hiring a third coach?
Aye.
Say aye. Sorry. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion does not pass. Okay, moving on to Doug DeShazer as a third wrestling coach. Kind of the same plan.
We have options on that.
Oh, we do have options on that, you're right. So options listed, just to go over, does somebody have those pulled up?
Yeah, option 1 is hourly practice and competition coach. And then there's a breakdown of the numbers. Option 2 is hourly practice coach only. And then option 3 is prorated assistant coach. And Nick and Mark recommend option 3. The dollar values on option 1 are $3,300. Option 2 is $2,200. Option 3 is $2,900.
So hourly practice and competition. Second one was just practice.
Mhm.
Third one was hourly, no.
Assistant coach, yeah.
Assistant coach, okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on those options that they need clarified?
Okay, we still have 32 wrestlers.
Yep.
Is there,
The age range on those wrestlers?
Freshmen through seniors.
do all of them travel every time?
Not every time. Depending what we're doing.
How many of them are beginning wrestlers?
I don't have the breakdown of freshmen. None of them are probably brand new to wrestling. They've all grown up wrestling. But I don't have the breakdown in front of me of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. Our senior number, if I remember, you guys might have looked at it before me last, was like 4 seniors, 3 or 4 seniors.
The thing about wrestling too, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, when we do take kids to wrestling events, there's a time where a handful of them don't even compete, correct?
No, if we take them, they'll compete.
Every time, every kid will wrestle.
Well, I mean, Jason Schaefer went to how many last year? Didn't get to compete because.
There are times when wrestlers go and they do not wrestle.
Very rarely. Only we go to events, we only take the top 1 or 2. We don't take, if there's 5 kids in a weight class, we don't take all 5.
So how many weight classes are there?
14 now?
So at the most you take 28 kids?
I don't think we've ever taken that number total.
Okay, but at the most, that would be what it would be.
What's the average number of kids we take?
I can tell you that off the top of my head. And this is by far our biggest number of kids. For example, we went to the O&M by last week, we took 26 kids. But a few of them also didn't have their 8 practices then, so they couldn't. So.
Is it called an expedition? Is that like the kids that go just to wrestle outside of the? Yeah, and how?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Now that I've returned,
He's a wrestling fan now, but.
Went to my first tournament this weekend.
Okay.
I can tell you all about it. All those kids wrestled at least 2, there's 2 in queue. But then they had a whole mat. And they just said, anyone that's 132 pounds that hasn't wrestled 2 times today, get over there.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got those JV kids wrestling as much as they can.
And that was at that particular
That's
tournament.
the biggest tournament.
But our matches are.
Actual
Yeah,
competitive
so that's the
matches.
problem right there, isn't it?
You know, you've got the championship bracket, consolation bracket that, you know, like most of our wrestlers got 6 or 7 matches in because we kick butt. I mean, we did so high. But all of our JV kids that 2 and Q, they went over on that exhibition match and they're busy.
Mhm.
What he's talking about is if we go to like Missoula or Tri-State or something. Yeah, that's just illegal to that.
When we do the tournaments, they've done a very good job now of having one gym with a big duel, and then when you get beat out, you go to the other gym, and that's who does that. Yeah, Ronan, most of those will start doing that now, and this is the reason tournaments have gotten so big, they gotta get as many matches as possible.
Yeah, and of course the frustration is,
It's the complete opposite of what I want, but.
yeah, because people like watching the wrestling and it's fun and not that, I mean, people like watching the sports in town and they're never there.
So that's, if Dean were here, that would be his argument, the third. Because I am watching those guys for the first time, I'm like, yeah, they're picking up their stuff and going to the other match, and on to the other match, I'm like, oh, they're busy.
How many volunteers does the wrestling?
Currently,
Yeah.
Without, if Doug's not hired, there'll be a 2 right now.
Oh, okay.
Question on, at one point, we had a trainer, personal trainer or a medical person that was supposed to be at each event. We'd supply one at home. And then when we were away, the visiting team, is that still going on? Is that still a thing?
It's not all Class A schools, but a majority of them, but most schools aren't providing it, it's the hospitals, like what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still provide one here, correct?
We provide one at home events, yes.
And how often do we get one provided when we go?
Josh, you might answer this better than I do, but a majority of schools have them.
Okay.
There might be one.
I would say every school except for Browning that we go to play basketball games either has a trainer on site at school, or a lot of them come from Missoula Bone and Joint, contracted to the school for after hours and games.
And the reason why I'm asking that, Josh, is I want to make sure that, I mean, I agree with your position on a safety issue. Are we reaching out to that person when we get there so we know who that person is?
Yeah, we always know who the trainer is.
They're usually introduced to you when you walk.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments before a motion is made?
How do we make a motion with the options?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
You would make the motion for the option.
For the option that you want. If it gets turned down, I would guess we would go for another motion.
I make a motion, we approve the hire of Doug Shazer at option 1, hourly rate, practice coach only.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Sam to approve option 1, which is hiring a coach as a practice coach only, paid hourly. And a second by BG. That was so long I forgot what it was talking about. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
So motion.
Sorry. Confused about what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're doing it each one at a time?
Well, we're starting with this one. If it passes, then what can be done?
One.
Yeah,
Okay.
the hourly coach.
Which is a practice and competition.
No, I said option 2, sorry.
Oh, you
He-
said option 2.
Okay,
Which
sorry.
is a practice.
Did I?
You said
Yes, he
one,
said
just
one.
practice.
All right, sorry,
So we're gonna clarify, that's option 2, but he did say practice only.
I apologize.
So what's your?
Okay.
Option 2, practice only.
So we're gonna re-vote. So all those in favor of practice only coach, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed of practice only coach, say aye.
Aye.
So 2 and 3.
The 2.
2 against, Rob and Katie. Okay, so that motion passes. Okay, moving on to old business. Libby Central Charter School Survey results. Did you?
Yeah, and I just showed you those, so
That's one.
we should be good on that.
Okay.
I should just wait a bit.
Before we go
Yes.
off the coach subject.
Yes.
Is Darby Armstrong coaching or not coaching? She was hired in June if numbers weren't. And we don't have clarification if she's to be coaching or not coaching.
Oh my goodness, that's hard because we
Well,
have.
we approved it, and that was my point earlier. We never brought it up to have the discussion. and it never got put on the agenda, so my impression is that she's still coaching.
Okay.
She is coaching at this point, right?
That sounds good. I'll have it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean she'll have a contract.
But the
It
contract
has-
said if needed. So this is where this gray muddy water that we struggle with all the time is.
So
That's why we feel like it needs to be a definite number, just so that everybody is, I know, I'm sorry.
Her contract says if needed.
Yeah, all contracts say if needed, yeah.
If it's not necessary, then she.
If needed by who?
It says the contract can be terminated if the number of students don't warrant having a coach. That's what it says in the contract.
At this point, I'm going to go out on a limb and say she's going to continue to coach because she's not on our agenda and we cannot vote on that at this point. So that would have to wait till next month. And at that point, we're into the season too far.
Then the worry would be that any coach hired early when they're supposed to be hired, and we're hiring them with the idea of as needed, we get to this point and they're just needed because.
Yeah.
So.
On your point.
So I think we're just going to have to find a time to have a discussion and have some more communication
I
and,
think we need some firmer parameters.
right, figure out a way
And we need to
that
have.
everybody's happy that we can
Right
draw
on,
on.
so everybody has the same information.
Can we look at the agendas upcoming, it doesn't have to be right now, but in the future and look at a good month? And you schedule typically when? March, so it would have to be before then?
can we set up a subcommittee?
Yes.
Agreed.
Absolutely, because otherwise it would be a full-blown board meeting.
Yeah, and it'd be harder to hammer out things.
But that would also, I mean, I agree, but then it has to come back to the board for an
Sure.
official vote.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So if we did it early in January for the board meeting? Is that too early or?
What do you mean, a subcommittee early in January before the board meeting? Who has interest on being on this committee?
I would.
I do.
Okay, so we can only have three.
Well, I will back off.
We will back up. So Rob, Katie, and Sam?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we will do that. Do you want to try to set up a meeting now, or do you want to just get with them individually and and do it later? But before January.
Yeah, is there a desire from the board to go ahead and get this going in January, or is it a February event, or what would?
Well, I think they need to start their subcommittee in January, because if he's scheduling in March, we need to have some sort of guidelines and guidance.
March 17th and 18th are my scheduling dates right now. So
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday.
So we'd have to make
so we need to
decisions
get-
at the February meeting. No, wait, it could be the March meeting if needed.
Well,
Thank you.
if we meet in January, the subcommittee, then we can talk about that in February as well.
Okay, and we would have March if needed.
What does January 10 look like? It's a Friday?
You're okay with that day? Is that what you said, Katie?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
What date, sorry?
January 10th
Sure, Friday.
in the afternoon?
I think after school would be better. So,
Yeah.
like 4 o'clock.
4:30? 4?
Okay, Junior Chen, Rob?
Is there sorry, didn't mean to. Is there a game on January 10th that would conflict a meeting? Huh?
What day is that?
January, it's a Friday.
Yeah, we have wrestling home.
No basketball. though.
No basketball, okay. What time does that start?
I think that one starts at 5.
That probably is too big of a discussion to put on that
I'll be there
time.
at 2:30.
Yeah.
Thursday,
So that's
and
not a good day. Can you pick another day?
We can do that, what about the 9th? That's a
The
Thursday?
following Friday, we have no home events.
The following?
17th, January 17th.
Let's do the 9th.
Can you do the
ninth,
9th?
Nick?
Is
Yeah,
it, Katie, can you do the 9th?
Yep.
Rob?
I suppose, is there a basketball game on the night?
Nope.
No
No.
basketball.
And we're talking,
It's Thursday off. There's not many of those.
at 4 o'clock, 4:30?
Tuesday the 7th. Tuesday.
So if we do that at 4 o'clock, that work?
Yep, here.
Yeah, it's a conference room.
Okay, so any other questions or comments before moving on? No? Okay, we have chatted about the charter school, so we're moving on to new business. So consideration of CPI certification standard, which is what Scott just chatted with us about. So we just need a motion to approve his guidelines. Is that what you want to call them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion by BG and a second by Ellen to approve the consideration of CPI certification standard. Any more questions or comments for Scott? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, consideration of out-of-district student travel. I think we can probably group them all together, but if I can get down to it. We are approving basketball will travel to Bonners Ferry and wrestling will travel to Kellogg, Idaho. And then we are approving close up to Washington, D.C.
And the band to Seattle.
And the band to Seattle, yes. So those are the only 4 out of state we have. I always feel like they're smaller.
I so move.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Sam and a second by BG to approve the out of state district student travel as listed. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by BG and a second by Sam to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Have a good night, everybody.
Jim. Hey.